water is a life-giving substance. The existence of any living things on Earth would simply be impossible without water. It's amazing how such an apparently simple combination of 2 hydrogen atoms and 1 of oxygen have penetrated into all the various nooks and crannies of the globe. Both the human body and the surface of the Earth consist of almost 70% water. What would happen if it were to be removed? If we could drain all the oceans and lakes to expose the previously inaccessible depths, what opportunities would reveal themselves to us humans? We could raise wrecks, find the Loch Ness Monster, and discover just how far down in the depths life can exist. Plunging into the deepest cavities would be akin to climbing the highest mountains. But first, let's take a look at the contours of our planet devoid of this precious substance. At first, it may seem that the Earth without water should look something like a squeezed lemon. After all, most of what we see when gazing at the globe are the vast expanses of sea and ocean, and a few paltry continents and insignificant islands, land which in total takes up only 29% of the Earth's surface. The world's oceans look pretty deep to us, and we haven't even half discovered all of the inhabitants of these mysterious waters. But if we compare the Mariana Trench with a depth of almost 11 kilometers and the planet with a width of 13,000 kilometers, then it soon becomes obvious that our Earth is covered with a not-so-thick and almost uniform layer of water. This layer of our planet is thinner, relatively speaking, than the peel of an orange. If you remove all the liquid, the changes will actually be almost invisible. The difference between the highest mountain peak and the lowest ocean depth is less than 20 kilometers, 0.1% of the Earth's diameter. Just look at what a small ball it would make if it were possible to collect all the water from our Earth's surface. Drops that are smaller are all the fresh water of the Earth, from lakes and rivers. But this is only the beginning of change. A gloomy and dry future will await our planet without seas and oceans, without even the smallest streams and puddles. Venus and Mars are good examples of such a fate. The first, Venus, is a true hell. This is the hottest planet in the solar system, enveloped in thick clouds, shedding rain of sulfuric acid. It is very similar to the Earth in its composition and physical characteristics. The size and mass are almost the same, and the ratio of elements is the same. Moreover, NASA's Pioneer spacecraft studied our evil sister planet under its thick layer of clouds and found that water and even life could have once existed on its surface. But this is almost impossible to believe when observing conditions on the planet now. What happened? Well, Venus is 1/3 closer to the Sun than our humble planet Earth and receives twice the solar radiation. The Sun slowly warmed this netherworld for billions of years. Ultraviolet light broke the H2O down into hydrogen and oxygen, after which the hydrogen escaped into space, and the oxygen combined with carbon and accumulated as a dense atmosphere. These thick clouds warmed the surface like a blanket, further worsening the situation. Scientists call this phenomenon the runaway greenhouse effect. This is a bit depressing, as it is the fate of the Earth to one day follow Venus down this hellish path. In billions of years, when the Sun warms up, the temperature on our planet will become unbearable and the oceans will evaporate. Then these two sister planets will become almost indistinguishable from one another. And humanity will unfortunately accelerate the process if more and more harmful substances are released into the atmosphere. Soon, I will make a separate episode regarding this potentiality. Well, what about Mars? The complete opposite happened on the red planet. It has been ascertained that in the distant past, on its surface, which is now entirely covered with iron oxide, that is, ordinary rust, there were once giant oceans covering millions of square kilometers. Today, we see their remains in the form of pebbles, clay, and tracks which could only have been deposited or created by flowing liquid. If you melted all the water that is now on Mars in its icy polar caps, in the atmosphere, and just under the surface, It would cover the entire planet evenly to a depth of 21 meters. And at one time, if you can imagine it, there was 7 times more water. According to scientists, the last river dried up only 200,000 years ago, just an eye blink in geological time, when Neanderthals still walked the Earth. As the sun drove away the atmosphere from Mars and the pressure on the surface dropped, the majority of the water evaporated into space, along with the heat. The oceans disappeared, unable to remain liquid at a temperature below zero. Water either froze in the soil, like the permafrost on the Earth, or its molecules broke up into hydrogen and oxygen. And since gravity on the red planet is much lower than ours, the light elements flew away even faster into space. The scientists of the MAVEN mission and others are still trying to ascertain exactly how Mars lost all of its water wealth, something which most people fail to appreciate. Our planet would be completely different without water. There would be no people traveling around the world, no plants, no dinosaurs. There would be no life familiar to us. Water is life, something which, if we are not careful, we could easily lose.